Welcome to the deep dive. For the next few minutes, we're going to unpack a stack of sources covering a really specific, intense fortnight in India. That's June 8th to June 15th, 2025.
Right. It feels like a period where you can almost see a cross-section of, well, the pressures the nation is under.
Exactly. We've got everything from profound tragedy at home, complex foreign policy moves, to these persistent internal challenges.
And issues with fundamental systems, too, like the education exams. It really was a period defined by navigating multiple crises sort of all at once.
So our mission here is to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising details, and help you see how these different events might, connect. We'll look at that devastating air crash, the Prime Minister's diplomatic tour, the security situation in Manipur, and the big questions around the NEET national exam.
Okay. Where should we start?
Let's begin with the tragedy on June 12th. The crash of Air India Flight AI-171 near Ahmedabad. It was a Boeing 787-8 heading to London. The scale of loss.
It's just heartbreaking. Absolutely devastating. You had 241 of the 242 people on board who died, and then tragically another 29 on the ground, including 5 medical students. Just awful.
And only one survivor from the flight itself. We also saw prominent figures lost, like the former Gujarat CM Vijay Rupani.
The aftermath, the sources really highlight the human cost. Intense DNA testing just to identify victims, only 31 identified by the 15th.
And the support for families, too. Grief counselors and that significant financial package over, 1.25 crore from Air India and Tata combined?
Yeah. But moving to the investigation, obviously, they recovered the black box, formed a committee led by the Home Secretary. That's standard.
Right.
But what seems really notable is the decision to urgently inspect all 34 Boeing Dreamliners currently operating in India.
Okay, that decision. Why is that so significant? It suggests it's not just about this one plane, right?
Exactly. It points towards potential systemic concerns, perhaps. I mean, inspecting the whole fleet suggests they're looking beyond a single potential failure on AI-171. You could be about manufacturing, maintenance across the board, maybe even regulatory stuff related to the 787 model.
Yeah.
It's proactive, sure, but it indicates a much wider lens.
Okay, let's shift gears. From tragedy to diplomacy. The Prime Minister started a big 5-day, 3-nation tour on June 15th. Cyprus, Canada for the G7, and Croatia.
And that itinerary itself tells a story, doesn't it? It signals diplomatic diversification. I mean, the first visit to Cyprus in over 2 decades and the first ever by an Indian PM to Croatia, these aren't the usual stops.
So just building new partnerships or maybe reviving older ones in specific regions?
Right. And the sources link this tour, partly anyway, to Operation Sindoor, that recent anti-terror operation.
How does that connect? A diplomatic tour and counterterrorism?
Well, Operation Sindoor involved international partners. So part of the tour's stated purpose was thanking those partners and sort of solidifying that global cooperation against terrorism. It's also pragmatic diplomacy going to the G7 in Canada, despite, the ongoing bilateral tensions over the Khalistani issue. Shows they're navigating complex relationships.
What's really fascinating, though, is how real-world events intrude, like the Israel-Iran conflict, forcing Air India 1 to take this massive detour.
Yeah, a very tangible consequence. It's not trivial. It adds significant flight time, cost, and it even impacts commercial flights as airspace gets restricted. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, how instability elsewhere directly affects even top-level international travel.
So while India is engaging abroad, there are these intense challenges at home. Manipur, for instance, the sources show continued volatility there.
Very tense still. June 8th saw widespread protest after an Arambai Tengal leader was arrested. That led straight to curfew, internet shutdowns in 5 districts.
And the reports mention some desperate scenes, protesters threatening self-harm even.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it, about the depth of the underlying tension, the frustration driving such reactions. It speaks to a profound level of distress.
And it didn't stop there.
No. There was more police action, tear gas used after another mighty leader's arrest later. And then, underscoring the security challenge, this huge weapons seizure on June 15th. Over 150 SLR rifles, other guns, explosives, indicates a significant armed non-state actor presence.
And amidst all that, the state was also grieving. 2 young flight attendants from Manipur were lost in that Ahmedabad crash. Just layers of grief.
A compounding tragedy.
Okay, finally, let's touch on a different kind of national stress. The NEET UG 2025 exam results, released June 14th. Huge numbers, over 22 lakh appeared.
Over 12 lakh qualified. But interestingly, no perfect 720 scores this time. Mahesh Kumar got AR1 with 686.
But the results seem almost secondary to the controversy surrounding the exam itself.
Significantly overshadowed, yeah. The sources list multiple issues, faulty question papers like pages jumbled in places like Sikar and Jamnagar, concerns about out-of-syllabus question.
Right.
Then you had administrative problems, biometric glitches, and a really disturbing report from Kalaburagi about Brahmin candidates allegedly being asked to remove sacred threads raises serious discrimination concerns.
Wow. And even power cuts.
Yeah. In Indore, students having to finish in dim light, it's a lot.
When you see multiple reports like that, admin failures, potential discrimination, operational issues across a single high-stakes national exam, what does that point to?
It suggests, systemic weaknesses, issues with how the exam is executed, maybe quality control, personnel training, emergency plans across such a vast system. For students and families, it definitely raises questions about fairness and what's supposed to be a merit-based system.
And briefly, we also saw other things happening. A British F-35 making an emergency landing down south in Thiruvananthapuram. And tragically, another helicopter crash in Uttarakhand near Kedarnath, the fifth in that area in just 6 weeks, apparently.
Yeah, just adds to the picture of a nation dealing with a lot simultaneously.
So, looking back at this fortnight, June 8th to 15th, what's the overall picture that emerges for you?
I think it's one of simultaneous pressures. You have crisis response to a terrible accident, alongside complex foreign policy moves under, difficult global conditions. Then there's the persistent, violent internal security challenge in Manipur, and finally these big questions about the integrity of a key national system like NEET.
So connecting that to the bigger picture for you, listening, these events really highlight the multifaceted pressures on India's governance, on its society. It's managing domestic crises, internal stability, and international goals all at the same time.
And it really underscores that link, doesn't it? Between a country's domestic health, its security, its social cohesion, the fairness of its systems, and its ability to act effectively on the world stage.
So here's a thought maybe to leave you with. Based on what we've seen in these sources, how does the sheer strain of managing multiple complex internal challenges all at once impact a nation's strategic thinking and how it's perceived internationally? This fortnight really shows how deeply intertwined those domestic and global worlds are for India.